In today's video, we're going to be checking out the ThreeZero The Walking Dead Merle Dixon 6-scale figure. So here's your 411 on good old Merle, who of course appeared in the show Walking Dead. His first appearance was in the episode entitled Guts. Before we have a look at the figure itself, let's get some dimensions going. Merle Dixon stands exactly 12 inches in height. He doesn't come with a display stand, but he seems to stand perfectly fine on his own. He is wearing a pair of khaki pants, a white t-shirt, a brown belt, and a slightly tanned colored t-shirt or short-sleeved shirt. His face sculpt, let's look at that first and we'll kind of go back to the clothing. His face sculpt is really good. I was a slight disappointed individual when I first grabbed the Rick Grimes, also from the Walking Dead series from ThreeZero, as I felt that the face sculpt missed its mark. Something seemed off on him. I don't know if it was maybe just the bottom lip, because that was slightly off color to match his beard, that's what was throwing off the whole vibe I was getting from the figure. Merle Dixon, on the other hand, I very much see Merle Dixon, and I very much see Mike Rooker there as well. Face sculpt is very, very good. I thought maybe that the head seemed a little longer than what it should be, but Mike Rooker does have a fairly long head. He's got some great shading incorporated here into a really good head sculpt. So you've got even like speckling that's been incorporated into the forehead area. Got a bit of a beard going here as well, and he's got the shorter hair. About the only thing I would say is seems slightly off is the coloring of his hair. It seems like it's a little too faded down below, but I know it's a shorter style of hair that he's going with here. So again, you would see a little bit more indications of the scalp underneath it. But it does seem like it's a little on the pale side. Other than that, though, I think the head sculpt is superb. I also quite like the fact that he's got a little bit of a gap in between his lips. You can't see his teeth, but there's just a little bit of a gap that's created from the two lips and separating themselves. I see a little bit of a line right there, which also works quite well. Though I initially thought, looking at the eyes, that the eyes seemed a little off, and the more I look at it, the more I think I don't think that they're off all that much. Sure, of course, they seem like they could have added just a little bit extra depth to the eyes themselves, but really, from afar, it's only really upon close inspection that it seems like the eyes maybe could be a little on the off side, but really from a distance, I really don't notice it. Like, if you certainly have him on display, I don't see this part of his face being all that much of a problem. They certainly, though, did put a lot of time and effort into even like the little wrinkled areas around his eyes, around his forehead, and even like the sunken in areas of his cheeks. The side maybe doesn't read as much Merle Dixon for me. It's kind of like one of those figures I think face on. If you're looking at it front on, the figure very much looks like the character. Maybe not so much from the side, but definitely though from the front here. Let's go back to his clothing here. He's got a pair of these really neat looking khaki pants that have multiple zippers. He's got real working zippers on the side pockets here. A couple of different pockets here. These pockets don't seem like they can open. This one pocket looks like it should have a zipper. Yeah, it does have a zipper, but I don't know if I would really entertain the idea of trying to open and close that. It really wouldn't accomplish anything. It's not like I'm going to store anything in there. It's got a couple of pockets right at the top area here, all individual zippers going there. And he's got some zippers down by the lower leg areas. Lots and lots of pockets to be said on these pants here. Stitching is done really nicely. I mean, this looks like a smaller pair of pants on a 6-scale figure. And you laugh, but sometimes clothing on 6-scale figures don't even look anything like their real life one-to-one counterparts. And I have to say, like, these look like really good clothes that I would even want to wear myself. We go down to his boots here, and we're just going to lift the pant leg up. I don't know what it is. ThreeZero seems to do really good boots. Not only do they look like they're like a leather material, but the laces look really realistic as well. Their Michael Myers is one of the best looking boots I've seen on a 6-scale figure. I think Merle Dixon is just as good. Got the underside, the undersoles of the boots, and you've got the ThreeZero logo there as well. Of course, we lift up the t-shirt, and there is a holster, actually. There's a holster on the side here for his pistol. He does come with one. Belt is done very nicely with your buckle on the front. Looks like it can really be fed through the loops. Again, why would I take the actual belt out? I'm just going to leave it as is. T-shirt's fairly clean. It's got a little bit of like kind of sweat and dirt and stuff on it. Could have maybe afforded to be a little bit dirtier, but overall it's pretty good. You can lift it up, and I don't know if I would say Mike Rooker is this sculpted, but at least it's one of those instances where if you lifted the shirt up, it's not a torso that's a different color altogether. And then you've got your short sleeve collared shirt and some pockets, some buttons, real buttons down the sides. They don't have the corresponding slots on the other, so you couldn't really do this up if you wanted to. I guess they could have put some snaps in there as well, but I can't see a reason why I would want to button up his shirt. I mean, especially for Merle, you would want to have it just loose and just draping down the sides here. What's interesting about this figure, though, is that, as you saw, he does have regular 6-scale articulation. So he's got the ab crunch and stuff like that going. But his arms are actually covered in a denser rubber material. The joint is in there, but it's concealed, as you can see, by the rubber skin. Not a big fan of rubber-skinned covered figures because you never know when a joint will break inside, and repairing that is impossible. It's not something you can easily accomplish. The skin tone is okay. It seems like it's a little on the darker shade than the hands and the head. But I guess you could really say, I mean, those are farmer tans. He's got the darker arms because, you know, he's always wearing the short sleeves. I don't really like, to be honest, the fact that the joints and all the internal mechanics are underneath a rubber skin like this. I wish they could have actually just put the hinge in there. Sure, it's noticeable, especially the fact that he is wearing short sleeves, but I would rather that, I think, than having something happen. This, over the course of time, like rubber can split, it can crack. I don't know 100% the material that they used here, but I wish that they could have actually just given us a regular hinge joint rather than covering it over here. Of course, for fans of Walking Dead, you'll know that his hand doesn't stay like this for a long period of time, and some spoilers, I'm sure, should be indicated in this review. You can, of course, take the hand off, as poor Merle had to lose his hand. You can take the hand off, and he does also come included, which obviously would be the way that I'd say obviously, I don't want to drop it here. Obviously, this is not, you may not know this would be the way that I would go, but I'm telling you right now, this is how I would display Merle Dixon. He's got the little, almost kind of pot or some sort of canister that he's makeshifted into a stabbing hand. And he's got the little, I say little, he's got a considerable knife that's been bolted to the end here. It would beg the question, I guess he would have crafted this together with one arm. I mean, obviously he didn't have the other hand available, but it looks really good. I mean, they got the real, somewhat real looking leather straps, a little leather interior here, and this is all plastic, including the knife itself. The instructions do indicate, though, when you are putting it on his arm, to make sure that these little, let me see if I can get him to stand here for a second, to make sure that these hinge joints are facing the right way. You want to make sure that they're, because when you get it, it's like this. You want to make sure that they're bent upward, because obviously his arm's going to bend this way. You want to make sure that the joint is also bending the same way. If not, you're obviously going to break that little harness contraption. I find it's actually easier to bend the frame already, bend the elbow, and then just simply slide it over top. And once you get it in place, kind of want to just adjust the straps, make sure they're all nice and snug. And it stays perfectly fine in his arm. It's not going anywhere like that. Yeah, so when it comes to displaying, this is going to be the way that I'm going to display Merle Dixon here. The arm attachment looks really nicely done. Just a little bit of weathering, a little bit of wear that they've added to it, but for the most part it stays pretty pristine. Also said for the knife as well. The knife doesn't have any blood or zombie guts or anything like that on it. You can see how it's been bolted into the top of the canister and how it's been bolted onto the side there as well. Merle Dixon will also come with the following accessories. He gets himself a pistol with a removable magazine. You can see there's one bullet that's been painted on the end there. Slides into place. It seems like it sits a little on the loose side, but it doesn't fall out if you shake it, so it serves a purpose. At least it's not gonna fall out on you. And as mentioned, when we were looking at the waist area, he does have a holster section for holding the gun. It's a little on the tricky side, I have to admit, to get it in there, as you have to put it in on an angle, and it just slides into place. I think I could probably see myself displaying him with the pistol, the gun actually in the holster, slightly concealed, but still very much visible, and then just give him like a slight kind of off stance sort of thing. And I think that would actually look quite good. Then to go along with the pistol, he gets a bunch of interchangeable hands. Out of the package, he came with 2 closed fists. So he does get a pair of closed fists. And then he gets a pair of relaxed hands. I just so happen to have one relaxed hand in the socket currently, but he gets 2 of those. And then he gets 2 trigger hands, depending on which side you'd like to have him holding the gun. It would make perfect sense if you display him with the bladed swappable arm. You're obviously going to go with this route, having him hold the pistol. But I do like the fact that they gave you the option and didn't just release the figure with the bladed arm. They gave you the option that you could have displayed Merle Dixon pre, of course, the amputated arm. So you could have displayed him with the either pistol hand and him holding the pistol. For his articulation, he has a ball joint in the head. Quite a generous amount of posability going in the head section there. He's got a ball joint in the lower torso. A lot of times if you are moving the figure, if you keep him staction, he's fine. If you are moving him a little bit, sometimes the arm does slide itself off. It's, as you can see, very easily put back into place. He's got universal joints in the arms. They ratchet out forward and back. We've already looked at the hinge in the elbow, concealed by the fact that he's got the rubber skin. Not a big fan of that. He's got the universal joints in the hands, and then he's got forward and back motion on the legs, a split out, a top swivel on the cut of the thigh, double hinge on the knee, and then he's got the posability. Looks like just the same sort of joint as the hand, so you get a good range of motion there, and by default you also get your ankle pivot as well. Though Rick Grimes is the leader of the group and star of the show, I do feel like the Merle Dixon here released from ThreeZero trumps the one that we got before with the Rick Grimes. The Rick Grimes seemed slightly off. I don't feel as much the same way looking at Merle here. Merle comes together quite nicely. His clothing seems very top-notch, stitched in such a way that it looks like something that a one-to-one person like myself could have possibly wore. He doesn't have a lot in the way of the accessories, but he does have the ones that I would want to display him with anyways. More importantly, the pistol, and of course I do love the fact that he's got the interchangeable, swappable arm. But the only thing I would say I don't care for when it comes to this figure, and that's across the board when it comes to any 6-scale figure releases, is I don't like skin covering over joints. When it comes to any of those joints breaking over the course of time, it is extremely impossible. It is impossible to swap out those arms other than just popping the arms out from the shoulders. In that instance with Merle here, popping them completely out of the shoulders and replacing them for interchangeable, articulated arms. I wish they had gone the route of just giving us articulation in the elbows rather than covering over with the skin, because I worry over the course of time that rubbery plastic that they've made use of may crack or split. I hope that not be the case, because Merle Dixon is a figure I'd love to have in my collection for a very, very long time. Fans of Mike Rooker, or fans of just Merle Dixon in general would probably want to add this to their collection, as I think it does sport a really uncanny likeness to Michael Rooker, of course, who also starred in Guardians of the Galaxy. Today we were having a look at the ThreeZero's release of the Walking Dead Merle Dixon 6-scale figure. Of course, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe to this channel, make sure you hit the little subscribe button down below. It's down below this video, and you'll never miss a beat when it comes to future videos. As always, thanks for watching as you always do. I'll see you next time.